can do is just tell the truth and trust in the American people that over time they're going to know what the truth is.
Yes, it is time for the truth. Right here, right now. This is the Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives. With your host, John Matthews.
The latter-day prophet. Baying against the hypocrisies of our time.
And Joe Hakos.
You want answers. I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
The Conservative Syndicate is comprised of some of the most informed pundits and activists available today. Together, we seek to tear down the imaginary wall, a separation between church and state through education, information, and engagement on the religion of politics and the politics of religion. And now, your hosts on the globally syndicated Conservative Syndicate, John Matthews and Joe Hakos.
All right, hey, how are we doing out there all across this great land of ours and around the world? It's time for the Conservative Syndicate. We're glad to have you with us this great Monday afternoon. Just another day in the greatest country in the world, perhaps in the history of the world, certainly the greatest country that exists today, especially given everything else that's going on throughout the world. Anyway, sounding redundant, but, that's kind of, I guess, because as we follow these elections, this election cycle in particular, there's so much redundancy, you just have a habit of falling into that pattern of repeating yourself and wondering if it really all makes any sense. And we're going to do that not only today, but probably throughout most of the week this week. We're going to be tackling this issue of the media presence in particular, this election cycle. We've all known that the media has been biased for quite some time. In fact, the media has always been biased. Let's not hide that. But at least they used to separate news from their bias, meaning that they would report something based on whatever they knew to be facts. And yeah, they had editorials and they had people that had their own views and this, that, and the other. But now reporting facts no longer is the case, no longer necessary, and they have become basically the equivalent to what's his name, George Goebbels, or Joe Goebbels, the guy for Hitler.
No, not George.
George, yeah, George Goebbels, and just become the propaganda corps. That's really what they are now. They're in an unholy alliance, completely sold out, signed probably in their own blood, advocates for the devil, however you want to put it. And we're going to talk about that this week because I think the only explanation for it is the election of Hillary Clinton is in much dire straits, much more than they want us to believe. And we're going to tackle that this week, most of this week, and talk about it. We'll have Bob Cardoso on from Robert Cardoso Live at the bottom of the hour. Having said that, I'm going to bring Joe on, my partner in crime here, and he'll kind of break us into how we're going to go about talking about this really tacky subject. Go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, I mean, we've always known this. And so, hey, if you recall from our show of last week, I brought on a thing about, the Clintons and how Bill Clinton has been, the Clintons have been in the, shall we say, scandal business for a long time. And I talked about Jerry Brown and Bill Clinton going after each other in the 1992 Democratic presidential debate in their primaries, no less. And there was a very interesting point, and if you didn't listen really quick, you might have missed it. And I'm going to bring it up here. Now, Jerry Brown, in this first part, Jerry Brown has just went over Bill Clinton and Hillary, talking about their time in Arkansas as Bill was governor and Hillary's law firm was doing legal business basically to protect Tyson Foods from an environmental issue going on where they were polluting the rivers and waters of Arkansas with poultry fecal matter, making it unsafe to drink, and providing legal expertise, quote unquote, big air fingers quotes there, to the Tyson people on behalf of these folks, and so Bill obviously didn't like it. So let me finish up with that clip here. We got about 48 seconds of that. So again, this is Jerry Brown, Bill Clinton, March of 1992, Democratic primary presidential debate.
Something. I mean, this guy just accused you of having somebody funnel legal fees to your wife and the poultry and whatever all that.
Well, his wife's law firm.
Is that true or isn't it?
This morning.
Is it true or isn't it true, Governor Clinton?
Wait a second, Bill. You're always trying to attack.
Brown?
You never answer the question.
Mr. Brown, let him answer.
Let me tell you something, Jerry. I don't care what you say about me. I knew when Pat Caddell told me what you were going to say, and you were going to reinvent yourself, and you were going to be somebody else's mouthpiece, you would say anything. But you ought to be ashamed of yourself for jumping on my wife. You're not worth being on the same platform.
I'll tell you something, Mr. Clinton.
Now,
don't try to escape it. Ralph Nader called me this afternoon. He read me the article from the Washington Post.
Does that make it
I
true?
was shocked by it. I was shocked by it because I don't think someone in government should be funneling money into his wife's law firm.
Governor Clinton, you were poking your finger at him.
Well,
this is the most.
And so we had there was Jerry Brown, Bill Clinton, some moderator. I didn't bother to get his name because he's unimportant when it comes to our discussion here. Yeah. But the one names that you heard there was Pat Caddell. Pat Caddell, political pollster. He's been on Fox News lately. He's been on the satellite, Breitbart satellite radio on the satellite. And Pat has been on the inside, as Mr. Clinton was reiterating in our clip we just played, how to answer when you're presented with facts and how to make it turn around and put these things in your favor. And we know, as Dinesh D'Souza always told us in his most recent movie, you deny, and you just keep on denying until the sun never comes up again. And so, that being said, I have a clip here of Pat Caddell telling us all about what's going on with our media today. Observations that some of you may or may not have heard. But the reason why I bring up Pat Caddell is because he's been at this for a while. And so who better to tell us how this is really happening by somebody who was actually on the inside doing it. So this is Pat Caddell on Breitbart News.
This is the most united effort by the press. Certainly in the 45 years I've been on the national political presidential stage of analysis, that I've ever seen them united with this kind of fierceness against one person who they are trying to destroy and where there are no rules, which is Donald Trump. And remember, I don't think there's anything comparable since '64 with Barry Goldwater. You go back, and was very young, but I do remember some of that, where you had everybody questioning his sanity and whatever, and the press, and there was, but you know, the press is in the business of protecting the political class. The fierceness of their response, as it is in the political class, is not just a little bit inspired by a fear that someone who is representing the disruptive majority of America is a threat to their position and power. And Donald Trump has got to understand he is in his campaign in a different kind of campaign. The country has to understand we aren't talking about a press that's reporting the news. All you have to do is look at the lack of coverage. I mean, yesterday there were two networks in which there was even no discussion of the ransom payment, which I don't know how you call what was done. You don't get an unmarked airplane, put pallets of money on it, and send it to somebody, and have the hostages sitting on the ground ready to go, waiting for that plane to land, and not call it what it is. The ability to dissemble the profession in this country, you know, that's why almost over 60% of the people say.
Yeah, that's why 67% of people say they don't trust the press. And more than that, don't trust Hillary Clinton. If you notice, Pat Caddell was talking there about Barry Goldwater, and they were talking about that at the time back in '64. They were talking about, you know, Barry Goldwater's unhinged, he'll cause World War III. They was talking about his mental capabilities, all that kind of stuff. And if we haven't, if you go back in our recent memory, just probably a few short weeks, they did the same thing with Donald Trump.
Yeah, well, it's a pattern that has become, you know, I guess how would I would say it is that we become used to the media being biased.
Yes,
but we are now seeing it to a whole new level.
Oh,
and it's like, And I guess the most obvious part of it is the fact that they're not hiding it anymore. And they're not even trying to justify it anymore. In fact, what is floating through my head during the weekend was what we're dealing with here is the media wanting to make the media the center of the debate. They're willing to put themselves out there and just say, the way they do it. I saw signs of it back in 2012, but it's become, I guess, basically a strategy. Is that you come out with your bias and your propaganda and your skewed numbers and your polls that you created to say what you want, and even lies and innuendo. All this stuff becomes the fact. It becomes the news. And then you say, okay, now are we off base here? Let's talk about whether the media is actually honest or not. Okay, let's do. It's kind of like the State Department saying, "Well, we think something's wrong in the State Department, so we're going to investigate ourselves."
Yeah, we're going to investigate ourselves. It kind of like like baseball did way back in the early 20th century. To make we'll just get some the highest rated judicial guy to ever walk the face of the earth, and that'll make it better. Hey, do you want to go to a break?
Yeah, we want to go. We're going to go to our first break here. When we come back, we're going to get into it's going to be kind of a heavy discussion, I think, at times today. So you're going to really have to hang in with us and listen carefully. Stay with us right here at the Conservative Syndicate. We'll be right back.
A healthy attitude toward human politics will be relentlessly cynical. Consider us health food for the heart, mind, and soul. TheConservativeSyndicate.net. Real conservative talk from real conservatives.
When our water heater broke down last month, it was a nightmare. It took 5 hours for the plumber to show up, and he charged us a couple of $100 just to come out. Then it cost another $1,800 to put in the new water heater. By the time it was all said and done, I felt like I'd been taken. But what else could I do?
The smartest thing you can do is get a home warranty from American Residential Warranty. Their home warranties pay to repair or replace all your major appliances when they break, and they will break, and at the worst possible time. Call American Residential Warranty right now for free information on home warranties starting at just pennies a day. Don't wait for your refrigerator to stop running or your ceiling fans to stop turning. Call American Residential Warranty right now. Ask how you can save up to 50% on washer and dryer coverage. Just call 1-800-790-5960. That's 1-800-790-5960. Again, 1-800-790-5960. Call now.
Limited time offer, 24-month commitment and credit qualification required. Cancellation fee, auto pay, and paperless billing and other restrictions apply. If you can't see the difference, why pay the difference? Switch to Dish for the best deal in entertainment. Only Dish brings you the best in entertainment for less than $20 a month. Cut the cable and don't get directed. Switch to Dish because at just $19.99, Dish saves you every time you turn on the TV. It's so simple. The same channels cost less with Dish. So since you can't see the difference, don't pay the difference. Switch to Dish for the best deal in entertainment. Get premium movie channels free for 3 months, starting at just $19.99. Dish saves you every time you turn on the TV. Call now to save with Dish. Dial 1-800-600-1645. That's 1-800-600-1645. The same channels for less than $20 a month. Dish. Call 1-800-600-1645 for details.
Hey folks, if you're like me, you don't place a whole lot of trust in today's media for the real truth and facts regarding the volatile world of finance and politics. When I want the real scoop on money, I go to the most trusted source I know, my good friend and colleague, Bob Cardoso. Bob is a noted expert with a PhD in international finance who airs his nationally known, globally syndicated show, Robert Cardoso Live Daily, Monday through Friday, 3 to 5 p.m. Pacific Time. With Bob, you get the right information at the right time from someone who knows his business and can help you make the right decisions concerning yours. Again, Bob airs daily, Monday through Friday, 3 to 5 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit his website at robertcardosolive.com for information regarding stations and topics. That's robertcardosolive.com. Check Bob out. You'll be glad you did.
Read something recently worth thinking about. It's the soldier, not the campus organizer, who's given us freedom to demonstrate. It's the soldier, not the reporter, who's given us freedom of the press. It's the soldier, not the poet, who's given us freedom of speech. It's the soldier who serves under the flag, who defends the protesters' right to burn the flag. Isn't it time now to demonstrate that we support our troops? Were it not for the brave, there'd be no land of the free.
Fred Thompson's message was brought to you by citizensunited.org.
Hey, we're back, and you are listening to the Conservative Syndicate. And if you think you've tuned into MSNBC, boy, are you in the wrong place. Not even close, not even close. Although I am very, very ashamed when people ask me. I've had people ask me, are you related to Chris Matthews? I'm like, well, if we are, it has to be somewhere down the line, and he sure wouldn't be invited to any of my family reunions anyway. So,
yeah.
Anyhow, I'm your host, John Matthews, along with Joe Hakos. And, Joe, you have one more clip here to kind of drive the point home. We're trying to set the foundation here for what will be probably a very intense argument during the week, or not argument, but discussion, because we are really going to try to lay bare here the strategy behind the media's unholy alliance. I mean, just beyond the norm. And everything right now in this election cycle is beyond the norm, and that in and of itself has really affected the paradigm. I'm going to call it the paradigm, or what I like to call it the template, the election template that this country has been subject to at least the last 50 years at least, in terms of how everything is planned out and laid out, and how a lot of times everybody seems to know before anything happens what is going to happen, that kind of thing. Yeah. I guess it's FDR's old mantra, nothing in politics happens by accident.
Well, absolutely. I would like to call it more of it's a constitutional crisis.
Yeah, it is. Absolutely. So, Joe, you got one more clip for us here? Yeah,
I have one more, and it's with Mr. Pat Goodell, and he basically speaks of this crisis with the press and what the press is doing right now. And again, he would be the guy to know, since he had been doing it for, as he said in our first clip there that I played before, he'd been doing it for 45 years. So who better to tell us how the press is working than someone who's been doing it for 45 years? So this is Mr. Goodell telling us, and he's speaking to this crisis. So let's let Pat tell us in his own words here.
Pat, is this an institutional crisis, that the institution of the media is now all in to protect the donor class and the apparatchiks and the apparatus that they have built up, basically the uniparty?
Yes, they are also part and parcel of this. They live it. They are part of that. This is not just an institutional crisis. It's a systemic democracy crisis. The press, whose job it is to bring why there is a First Amendment. Protecting the press is because of the implicit bargain that they would protect people from power. They have now become the outriders of power, and they are and that is a crisis, and there's no way not to address it as an issue, because the people, as I said, when they become aware of it, they are not stupid, but it has to be the lines of battle here are being redrawn. This is a new paradigm, and you have to deal with it that way. And they are a legitimate issue.
Yeah, the press is a legitimate issue, the way they're doing it. And as he said, the First Amendment was put together to protect a free press from power. Now the press is working for power. They're not protecting anybody from power. They are in bed with power.
Yeah. I like to think of them as constitutional terrorists, meaning they use the Constitution to undermine the Constitution.
Yes,
and really that is so indicative. It's so illustrative of the government that we've been seeing in this country in particular the last 8 years. I mean, I'm sure it's gone on to some degree for quite a while, several, more than a few decades.
I mean, starting with Wilson, actually starting with Teddy Roosevelt. Actually, if you want to really get down to it, started way back then.
Yeah.
And the federal government has just grown bigger and bigger and bigger and out of control. It is now out of control, people. It is out of control.
Yeah. I remember a couple years ago talking about, well, I guess it was actually during the 2008 election cycle when Barack Obama announced his candidacy. And, right off the bat, we started hearing all this stuff about, it was going to be about race and, people that cling to their guns and religion and all this other stuff. And I just one day just went out and decided, I was going to look and see if I could find any memes or photos or images of George W. Bush look like an ape. I think you'll remember there was a lot of things, especially when Obamacare got passed.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, they had Obama as a witch doctor and all this other stuff. And so I did. I just went out one day and said, I wonder if there's any images out there of George W. Bush looking like a chimpanzee. And, I found more than a few. I also found more than a few of him dressed up like a Nazi.
Yep.
I found more than a few with crosshairs on him, like we need to shoot this guy, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, the same thing that they would get. They got upset with Sarah Palin in that election of 2008, saying she's targeting people. Ooh.
Yeah, but what's even more fascinating?
Yeah, they put people. Romney had people in what was it, notebooks or whatever it was. How did he put it? I can't remember. It was so stupid and asinine. It was ridiculous, and I wish I could remember. I'm having a moment. I'm sorry, John.
Oh, no, that's okay. That's okay. But what I found more fascinating was that I found comics dating back to Lincoln, and they had Lincoln looking like a chimpanzee.
Well, I remember seeing that back in Andrew Jackson's time. And what they were doing was Romney's. He had binders of women. That's what it was, binders. Like he had bound them up and was holding them captive somehow.
Yeah, well, I'm sure Bill Clinton had binders of women too, but they were more like, the latest, all editions of Playboy or something like that.
Well, he also had state troopers helping him out so he could make sure that they had the right to remain silent.
So anyway, along this line here, what we're seeing, and we started floating this idea a couple weeks ago. I mean, really consciously talking about it on this show. And lo and behold, some of the people in mainstream media are catching up with us. And I was looking at this. There was a Newsweek article that came out over the weekend, and written by Stephen Weiss. And the title of the article was, "Are we witnessing the end of the two-party system?" Now, we started advocating here a couple of weeks ago on the show that it's not witnessing the end of the two-party system, or as if it's coming about. It's already happened.
Yeah,
we're at this place now. And see, this is the thing: is so many in the conservative camp have not realized, or just coming to realize, that hey, wait a minute, something's wrong here. There's something wrong here, and they're still trying to put their finger on it. And in the meantime, the left just keeps moving. Just like, almost like a tsunami to some degree with their agenda. And their agenda is to what? To basically outshout and silence anybody that would bring to anybody else's attention what they're up to and what they're doing. And in line with the media here, Patrick, what's the name? Cadell?
Pat Cadell, uh-huh.
Okay, and he's talking about this crisis that we're facing here. And if you really look at it, really pay attention to what's going on, one of the first things you notice is, if you really just think about it just for a moment, Hillary Clinton is pretty much, in terms of being in the limelight, what I mean by that is being out there front and center where the media is covering what she's doing. Now, I believe she's out today with Joe Biden out floating around, but you don't hear, or you're not seeing much of Hillary Clinton. Let me put it that way. And you're not hearing very much from her.
Well, everything's going to be scripted. Everything that she has is scripted. She's not going to have an actual no-kidding press conference where they will ask her no-kidding. Of course, with CNN writing the Democratic Party, hey, these are the questions we'd like to ask. Hope it works for you guys. When they're out there already colluding together. But she's not going to have a press conference where they can actually get together and do an off-script kind of scenario.
Right.
That's not going to happen because, well, they just can't have it happen. I mean, and Joe's out there in Scranton, Pennsylvania because he's such a minor.
Yeah.
yeah. And I'm an ex-NFL star, too. Right.
Yeah. Well, even just I notice these things. I don't know. Maybe it's just maybe I've got a little bit of warped mentality in me. I was looking at just here at the break here. I was looking at some of the photos that are being taken right now of Hillary Clinton and Joe Biden out there, wherever it is they're campaigning. They're out there campaigning somewhere, and it's the Biden has. If you ever watch him when he's got his hands on a woman, where those hands are. Okay, most of the time, I know this from being a minister. We actually, one of the things you learn in ministry is how to hug women. Okay, because there's a right way and there's a wrong way, and in a lot of ways, when you hug a woman or you want to console her, you don't even hug her head on. What you do is you put your arm around her. Like you're walking down the street. If you're walking down the street and you put your arm around somebody.
Yeah, you do it more to the side.
You come to the side, you put your arm around her shoulders, and you just kind of, you can just maybe with your head just touch the side of her head or something like that, and that's how you hug. He's got his hands around both of her waists, and I'm almost like he's almost like rubbing against her, that kind of stuff. And I think, this is just, I don't know, it's weird, but I guess having Bill as a husband, she might be used to that. Or at least watching him do it with other women. I don't know, but I'm getting at here is that you're not seeing a lot of Hillary Clinton, and you're not hearing a lot of Hillary Clinton as much as you're hearing the media talk about Hillary Clinton.
Yes, as I'm looking at an NBC article. Clinton surges past the 270 electoral votes in an NBC News battleground map. Oh, the election's over, people. Don't even bother to go out and vote. We're 85 days away from an election, and they've got Hillary. They've already just anointed her president.
Yeah, and see, we brought this up on the show the day after the DNC convention. Mm-hmm. It might have been 2 days after, within 48 hours of the DNC convention. All of a sudden, Donald Trump lost 18 points in 48 hours.
Ooh, how'd that happen?
After the RNC convention, he was up by 8 points, according to the polls. And then after the DNC convention, Hillary was up by 10 points. That's an 18-point loss in less than 48 hours. Now, anybody with the IQ of seaweed, knowing that Hillary's got her baggage, I mean, we're talking about let's just believe the polls for a second. Let's just play the devil's advocate here and believe the polls. 46% of the people in the country think that Hillary Clinton should be president. 46%.
Okay.
Think just that dynamic alone. That's 4 points under 50%.
Yeah, that's amazing. I get that.
Okay, and we're not talking about, what was it in 2008? Barack Obama was like after John McCain melted down when the recession hit, and John McCain's the economy's strong.
I suspend my campaign.
Yeah, and he just overnight just tanked, and just like within a couple of weeks, Obama's out there like 65-70%.
Yeah.
Okay, Here we got a woman who is the most qualified person ever in the history of America.
Ever.
And she can only carry, if the polls were right, 46% of the electorate. Okay? Now, I don't even believe that number. And the reason I don't believe it is because I think there are still dynamics out there. And these dynamics is what the media has decided to collectively, along with the leftist machine, the DNC, and the RNC, or the GOP. I'm not going to say the RNC. I'm going to leave the RNC out of this. But the GOP leadership is all in collusion here.
The political class of the RNC, or the Republicans. How about that?
The establishment operatives on both sides of the political asylum here are working in collusion.
As I was saying before, I heard people call it the Uniparty now.
Yeah, the Uniparty. Okay, and let's look at some of just a couple of quick dynamics here. And I think at this point, at worst, It's still a crapshoot right now. Okay? And I'm going to present some things during the course of the show today that I think people really need to take a hard look at in terms of where the numbers actually may lie right now, and we'll present our evidence. But we've got voter registration numbers.
Yeah.
That are there.
We got Bob Cardoza.
Yeah. Oh, do we? Oh, yeah. We're at the bottom of the hour here. We'll have to take this up. Maybe we'll take it up with Bob. Okay. We'll be right back, guys. We've got to go to break. And when we come back, we'll have Bob Cardoza from Robert Cardoza Live. Stay with us right here at the Conservative Syndicate.
State Talk Radio, WRS Cleveland.
Hey, I'll make you a deal. Give me 60 seconds and I'll give you directions to the Fountain of Youth. Okay, I'm joking. Well, kind of joking. No fountains, but youth, I got Nature's Youth and their premier anti-aging product, Nature's Youth RSF. With your sensible diet and exercise plan, Nature's Youth RSF can help you look and feel better. RSF is an all-natural amino acid supplement that supports your body to naturally increase HGH levels without any synthetic hormones. And elevated HGH levels can contribute to increased energy, improved libido, reduced body fat, and improved exercise capacity. Let's be honest. Who doesn't want to look and feel younger? Visit the newly designed website at naturesyouth.com or call 800-333-6923. That's 800-333-6923 and like them on Facebook and you'll be included in contest and exclusive offers. What a deal. Oh, speaking of deals, my time's about up. 800-333-6923 or naturesyouth.com. Who needs a fountain anyway? Call today.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
When I had a heart attack at 42, I was not sure what the future held. But a year later, the doctors could find nothing wrong with me and took me off all my medication. What did I do? I took a herbal mixture of garlic, cayenne, and a few other herbs mixed in liquid form. I now call this Extendovite. I would have never believed that a few simple herbs could actually change my life like they did. Now it's your turn to see what the powers of garlic and cayenne can do for you. For only $69.95 plus shipping and handling for a 2-month supply of either capsules or liquid, you too can begin on your path to better health. For more information, call 1-877-928-8822. That's 1-877-928-8822. Or visit our website at heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
I've owned my company for 14 years now, and I can tell you that payroll is a 4-letter word. I hate doing it. It eats up hours I don't have, and it costs me money I could be saving. But my accountant's too expensive, and I'm not sure who to call, but I know I need help.
We're Paychex, and we take all the hassles out of small business payroll. We save you time and money. It's easy. Call, fax, or give us your payroll information securely online, and we take care of the rest. We calculate the correct taxes, manage payments and direct deposits. We even send out your checks. Payroll doesn't need to be a 4-letter word anymore. We're so sure that we can save you time and money that we'll give you a month's payroll free. Just for calling 877-663-3830. Get 1 month's payroll for free. Call Paychex right now. 877-663-3830. That's 877-663-3830.
Hey, I don't back anybody unless I believe in them. And I do believe in the value of investing in gold and silver. And the company I trust to buy my gold and silver from is Swiss America. I've been working with them for nearly a decade. I trust them, and you can too. Swiss America will help you sort through and find the best options available when you're considering investing in gold and silver coins. Listen, for over 30 years, Swiss America has been offering Americans what they want in their investments: safety, liquidity, quality, reliability, and a potential profit. Gold and silver have a place in every investor's portfolio. So, why not let Swiss America help you diversify your investment portfolio now? Call now for free information. 800-978-3907, 800-978-3907, 800-978-3907, 800-978-3907.
Hey, Bugsy, you hear the news about Vinny?
Yeah, it's a real shame. He owed money to the IRS and they finally cut up with him.
Just like Al Capone.
If the IRS can get to Capone, imagine what they can do to little old Vinny, huh?
Poor cat, he was on top of the world. Then bada boom, bada bing.
What Vinny needs now is an offer he can't refuse.
Hey, you got a tax problem? Does the IRS claim you owe them a bunch of dough? They can get you too. So call the tax relief line now and learn if you qualify to negotiate your $10,000 plus IRS tax debt for up to a 75% savings. Don't be like Al or Vinny and get busted. Make this free call now. Learn how you may be able to pay the IRS less.
Call now. 866-657-8474. 866-657-8474. 866-657-8474. 866-657-8474.
All right, hey, we're back, and you're listening to the Conservative Syndicate, real conservative talk from real conservatives, and we're going to hook up here with our good buddy Bob Cardoso over at Robert Cardoso Live and see what he's up to this fine Monday afternoon. And
Hey guys.
Hey, how you doing there, Robert?
Hey, you know what? Much better than I was on Friday. I'll tell you that. You know, I'm an old man. Sometimes I forget that, and I do things I'm not supposed to do.
Okay.
Well, is it what, are you having a senior moment there?
Yeah, you know what? I sprained my lower back, and I was scared to death. I didn't know if it was my hip, if I pinched a nerve, or I sprained my back. Went to the doctor, and the doctor says, well, you can do anything that you can tolerate and put up with. And I said, what do you think I'm here for? I obviously can't tolerate and put up with it. You know, why would I come to you if I was feeling good?
Well, so did he give you a note so that you don't have to vote?
No. You know, I wish he would, for God's sake.
I mean, who wants to tolerate that these days? You know.
You know what? That's worse pain than the muscle pain that I have.
Yeah, you know, we're talking about something here, Bob. I want to get your opinion on this.
Okay.
We're really kind of digging into the fact that the media has gone into propaganda overdrive here. Everything is about Trump, and very little is actually, outside of the obligatory announcement of Hillary Clinton's latest scandal, and then 24 hours later it falls off the map while we talk about Donald Trump's latest gaffe or whatever, something he says. And we've recognized the fact that the media and both establishments on both sides of the political asylum are now in collusion with each other. And we're examining this concept, or this idea that the media here is no longer, just like everybody else on the left, they're no longer hiding what their intent is, that there is an actual strategy here to go after Donald Trump and destroy him. Not that Hillary Clinton's any better, it's just to preserve the status quo. And I just want to get your take here. Are you noticing how the media bandwagon pretty much across the spectrum,
no question about it, John. Trump is his own worst enemy, and then he went out there and decided to attack the press, and the press was saying, "Ha ha ha! You think you're to attack us?" They've got an all-out declared war against this man. He can't breathe properly and not be castigated by the press right now. Now, you know what? It does seem like, and you and I have talked about it many times, that the people don't get to decide anymore. It's really the press, it's the media that's deciding who's going to be popular, who's not going to be popular. I mean, how else could we possibly have two unpopular people running for the highest, most powerful office in the world, and nobody likes them, and it's the press that's going to really decide who's going to get into the White House?
Well, I think part of the answer to that is the idea that because of the media, because of the fact that they major in the minors, I'm still hearing stories about Mitt Romney having his dog strapped to the hood of his car.
Poor fella. He probably struggled for about a mile and just couldn't keep up any longer.
Well, I don't know about you guys, but I'm getting tired. I'm getting tired. The minute I hear that they're going to be talking about Donald Trump again, I just try to find some variety show to watch. I'm getting just tired of hearing the same thing 24/7, no matter what station we're on. You know what? I'm just sick of it.
Well, I go for the poultry farm channel where they go out and slaughter a bunch of chickens.
Where did you find that?
That's even more exciting. And if you're going to have a bloodbath, you might as well have it where you can have poultry.
But see, Bob, you just hit the nail on the head, because this is the desired objective of the media.
Absolutely.
Is to get everybody just so sick and tired of listening to it, and just, hey, you know what the hell? I don't need to go vote anyway. There's just a couple of clowns here.
Well, that's that story that I had the headline read. Clinton surges past 270 electoral votes in the NBC News battleground.
I was watching one, Joe, the other day. She had 300 and some odd electoral votes. I'm thinking, well, excuse me, did the election go by and I didn't see it, or what?
Yeah, absolutely, Bob.
Yeah, I mean, what are we even talking about it anymore? It's already been decided. We were noting here. Before the break here that coming out of the RNC convention, Donald Trump had he picked up like 6 points. That was 6 points, 8 points in some of the polls, and so he had a 6 to 8 point spread over Hillary Clinton. The day after, the 2 days, a day, 48 hours after the DNC convention, Hillary Clinton is up by 10 points. So that's an 18-point swing in 48 hours.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there going, how can that even be possible when you're talking about a woman who, if the polls were even correct, has less than 50% of the electorate saying that she's good, and nobody likes her anyway?
Yeah. You know what? It's just ridiculous. The whole thing is just absolutely ridiculous.
How do you
yesterday, I'm hearing, Donald Trump is saying he's going to win New York. That's his state, right?
Yeah.
And then yesterday, the NBC poll announces that Hillary Clinton is 30 points ahead of him in New York.
Yeah,
Who the hell is taking these polls, for God's sakes? And who are they asking? I don't know. My phone's not ringing. Is yours?
And then, see, that brings up another point. I'm glad you mentioned that, and you're doing a very good job of leading me today.
Good.
I'm looking at an article here. I'm going to look at it, and I'll have a few moments here to share it with you, and then I'll get your response on it. Let me scroll down my notes here, because this is the thing that I think everybody is missing. One thing I believe, just with all my heart right now, is that nobody in the media, nobody out there that has a voice in this thing at all, even has a clue as to how this thing is going to turn out. And I'll tell you why. I'm looking here at an Associated Press article that was printed on Saturday, August 13th. And it says the number of registered voters in Florida keeps growing. Now, we're just talking about one state here. Mm-hmm. It says the Florida Division of Elections on Friday released information on the number of voters eligible to vote in the August 30th primary election. This is Florida's primary election, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, that's correct. That the primary for congressional races,
right.
Senate races, that kind of thing.
Okay, now listen to this. The GOP is crying about the fact that they may lose the majority in the Senate and the House is going to lose some seats. And so that's why everybody's just kind of turned their back on Trump. That's the argument that's being presented. It says here the total number of eligible voters in Florida has risen to 12.4 million. That's an increase of more than 310,000 voters since the March presidential primary. There were about 11.93 million voters eligible during the 2012 presidential election. The new numbers show that there are now 4.43 million registered Republicans, nearly 4.7 million Democrats, and more than 2.9 million voters who have no party affiliation. There were about 4.24 million GOP voters and 4.78 million Democratic voters during the 2012 election. The number of those voters registered with no party affiliation has also risen in 4 years by more than 341,000. Now, when you break these numbers down, this is what it shows. The Republicans have picked up almost 2 million registered voters, and the non-affiliated voters have grown astronomically, whereas the Democrat people have barely budged. There's been very little increase in the number of Democrat voters in Florida compared to the number of Republicans that have registered. And
so where's the logic of the analysis?
Huh?
Where is the logic in the analysis that they're worried in Florida about losing seats?
There's no logic in it. They just want to disenfranchise people, make them so they don't go out and vote.
Yeah.
You know what else, Joe? You know what it is? They're gonna convince people about who is actually going to win a seat or who's not going to do it. And those poor people out there that just want to vote for a winner, they don't care if they're good or bad. They just want to vote for a winner, and they're going to vote for who the media says the winner is going to be.
That's funny that you said that, because I was listening to something today and they were talking about, I don't need to use God in any decision I made, especially when it comes to voting.
Yeah. Or as Bill Clinton said, I never let my Christianity get in the way of my job. Right.
Yeah. Well, I think that Trump is a closet Franciscan.
Well, here's my point. When we talk, what we've shown, what this indicates is we've had an increase in the number of registered Republicans. We've had a massive increase in the number of non-affiliated voters, and virtually no increase in the number of Democrats registering in Florida. Now, I'm only looking at one state, but I'm saying if we were to project this out there and say, okay, let's say something like this is going on in every state, then what we have here is we have a massive number of increases in non-affiliated voters
but John,
going to sign up.
What you're not saying is those are defectors from the Democratic Party, because if the Republican Party continues to grow and the non-affiliated voters continue to grow and the Democratic Party continues to decrease, they are now defecting over to independency because they don't want to vote for Hillary.
Yeah, now, that's a good point. That's exactly where I was leading to. And when we come back, I want to take it just a step further here. And if we use these numbers and we're able to project something in terms of how these numbers are affecting the polls that the media keeps trying to tell us is telling us that Hillary's winning, because there's a point there. We got to go to a quick break. We've got Bob Cardoso from Robert Cardoso Live with us. We'll be right back. Stay with us right here at the Conservative Syndicate.
A healthy attitude toward human politics will be relentlessly cynical. Consider us health food for the heart, mind, and soul. TheConservativeSyndicate.net. Real conservative talk from real conservatives.
Hey folks, if you're like me, you don't place a whole lot of trust in today's media for the real truth and facts regarding the volatile world of finance and politics. When I want the real scoop on money, I go to the most trusted source I know, my good friend and colleague, Bob Cardoso. Bob is a noted expert with a PhD in international finance who airs his nationally known, globally syndicated show, Robert Cardoso Live Daily, Monday through Friday, 3 to 5 p.m. Pacific Time. With Bob, you get the right information at the right time from someone who knows his business and can help you make the right decisions concerning yours. Again, Bob airs daily, Monday through Friday, 3 to 5 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit his website at robertcardosolive.com for information regarding stations and topics. That's robertcardosolive.com. Check Bob out. You'll be glad you did.
Read something recently worth thinking about. It's the soldier, not the campus organizer, who's given us freedom to demonstrate. It's the soldier, not the reporter, who's given us freedom of the press. It's the soldier, not the poet, who's given us freedom of speech. It's the soldier who serves under the flag, who defends the protesters' right to burn the flag. Isn't it time now to demonstrate that we support our troops? Were it not for the brave, there'd be no land of the free.
Fred Thompson's message was brought to you by citizensunited.org.
Hey, we're back, and you're listening to the Conservative Syndicate. We want to remind you or challenge you or encourage you, however you want to take it. Visit our website, theconservativesyndicate.net, and check out our show. Everything about our show's there. People on it, why we do what we do. Theconservativesyndicate.net. Okay, we want to get back in line here with our good buddy Bob Cardoso over at Robert Cardoso Live, and I'm going to ask him to follow up on these questions here. You there, Bob?
Yes, I am.
Okay, we gave these numbers here, Florida, what's going on down here in Florida, and what it indicates is that there's a number of people much larger coming into the registration rolls, not so much from the Democrat and Republican Party, whether they're defecting or whatever, but the number of non-affiliated voters is growing, and I think that's pretty probably pretty standard across the board, or Donald Trump would not have been elected. He would not have won the nomination for the Republican Party. Now, if we take that and we just say, let's just speculate for a moment and project. And what my theory here is that these poll numbers that are being put out there right now, they may be accurate. They may be accurate. But when you consider the numbers, we talk about polls. We talk about is the poll looking at adults, or is the poll looking at likely voters, or is the poll looking at registered voters, and that really determines the honesty or the integrity of the poll when we, if we really look at it honestly. But and I think what's happening here, because in the 2012 election, everybody got it wrong. Okay, no, everybody thought Mitt Romney was going to just march over Obama and it was going to be all over, and it didn't happen. Now, here's my thing. Everybody's still using the template of elections past, and they're using old roll numbers. How do these people get called in polls? They're people that have joined a mailing list for the party or have sent donations to a party or whatever, and you mix them all together and you pull out and you say, okay, we call this many Democrats, this many Republicans, however you want to skew that, okay? But nobody's talking to the new people. Nobody's polling these non-affiliated voters. And if that's the case, I have a tendency to believe that most of those people are going to fall in the Trump camp.
Yeah, and that's the point that I was making earlier too, John, except I was analyzing it a little bit different. But I think the end result is we're coming into the same conclusion. But I do honestly believe that there are a lot of Democrats out there that are really ticked off about the fact that Hillary's getting away with all this illegal stuff, just doing whatever the heck she wants to do, the email stuff, the conflict between their foundation and the Secretary of State. People are fed up with that kind of crap. And I think that what you're seeing is some dissension in the Democratic Party, which is why you see a reduction in Democrat registrations. You're seeing an increase in Republican or conservative registrations, and then you're seeing a larger increase in those independents or non-affiliated registrations, because they're coming. They got to be coming from somewhere, John. I think they're coming from those Democrats.
Yeah, I think they're coming from a lot of the disenfranchised voters, people that have not voted in the past or haven't voted in a long time. But I would only argue that a lot of these non-affiliated voters are probably disgruntled Bernie Sanders people.
Oh, that could be too. Absolutely. You know what? I didn't give that any thought, and you're absolutely right, because you need to enter into there too. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, I'm just saying. There were a lot of people. There's a lot of people at the Democratic convention. It was very obvious. They had a lot of Bernie Sanders people actually walk out of the convention. They're like, "We're not voting for Hillary no matter what." Okay. Yeah. Now, I don't the wrench in the works, or the trump card, if I can use that phrase. Mm-hmm. The trump card is going to be the effect that Gary Johnson has on the electorate. I mean, they're talking about him, he's going to be included in these debates now. He's up on...
Well, he hasn't got the 15% yet, has he? I thought he was like at 10%.
Yeah, he hasn't gotten there yet.
No, but I think that maybe in the end, there may be some move. Because think of it this way. The Democrats would love to have Gary Johnson on the debate stage, not because it would hurt Hillary. It's because they think it would pull more people out of the Trump camp rather than more people out of the Clinton camp. So it would be to their advantage to have somebody like Gary Johnson on the stage. And that would, I think that, and so that's, we have all these non-affiliated people. Well, we have to decide, are these people going to go with Trump, or are they going to pull somebody like Gary Johnson or maybe Jill Stein, somebody like that? And just through the reduction, or because the election is going to be close one way or the other. But then I think as Joe had pointed out last week on our show, Bob Costas made a comment that I thought was just probably the most accurate out of everything I've heard so far, and that is, if these people that voted for Trump in the primary, if they all show up in mass, Hillary's got a real problem. And so what we see now is the media trying to discourage everybody from showing up and voting, because that's why we have Hillary Clinton already got 270 electoral votes. We haven't cast a single ballot yet.
It just incenses me the way we're being manipulated, and the fact that So many citizens of this country, and non-citizens for that matter, are so easily malleable, so easily to be bent and convinced about what's going on, and the media is trying to convince everybody that Hillary's already got all of the electoral votes that she needs to get into the White House. Everybody's going to say, well, why bother? I won't go to the polls. You hit the nail on the head with that, John.
Yeah. Well, the Gruber theorem is what the Democrats are working on. It's the stupidity of the American voter. And when you talk about manipulation, you have to be a willful participant to be manipulated. If your gut check tells you, I think God gave us all a gut check, and if your gut check says something ain't right, and that's where you leave it. Well, something ain't right, and so I'm going to do what I normally would do, or I'm not going to do anything at all. Yeah, then you're being manipulated. But if you're not, if your gut check and you follow your gut check, hey, maybe I had to take a moment here and find out what the hell's going on.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's going on? Rumpelstiltskin, welcome to Wake Up Time.
It's the Wizard of Oz.
Yeah, well, I was thinking the other day over the weekend, I was thinking of have you ever seen Jesus Christ Superstar?
Yes.
Okay, there's a scene in there where the disciples are talking to Jesus, and the song is, "What's the buzz? Tell me what's happening."
Yeah.
And I'm kind of thinking maybe that's if I was campaigning right now, that would be my theme song. I'd be out there, hey, what's the buzz? Tell me what's happening.
Yeah, you know what? I'm just kind of wondering if we're going to wake up on January the 20th with a pull-up bureau.
Well, we had czars in this last administration here.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. Anyway, Bob, we're out of time here. I want to give you a moment to plug your show.
All right, listen, I'm on the air every Monday through Friday from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. Pacific time. Get my app. It's the easiest way to listen to my show. It's absolutely free. Go to your app store, search Robert Cardozo Live, download it. It's absolutely free. You can listen to my show just after John's show and not be interfered. And if you're one of my listeners, you know what? Just go to John's website and listen to him after my show. You want to hear me live. In any event, you guys, it's always wonderful to talk to you. Look forward to talking to you on Friday.
All right. You have a good week, and take care of your back.
All right, thank you.
All right, okay. That was Bob Cardozo from Robert Cardozo Live. He streams Monday through Friday. He actually streams the same time we do. He's actually live right now, just like we are. But we just we piggyback off of the back of each other and try as much as possible to promote each other's shows. Bob and I have been good friends for a number of years now. We both met basically at the beginning of our career on radio. He was about a year in more than I was. But anyway, yeah, that's Bob Cardozo. Visit him at robertcardozolive.com. Okay, any closing thoughts here, Bob? I'm sorry, Joe, before we go to the top of the hour?
The thing is I think these polls are very important to the media, John, because without the polls, what would the media have to talk about? They would have absolutely nothing to talk about. They would actually have to talk about facts. Facts like, Bill and Hillary released their tax returns and 90% of their charitable donations went to, guess where? The Clinton Foundation.
Yeah, I mean, is that not the epitome? Or the other one, the campaign manager for Donald Trump is being accused by the Clinton campaign of accepting money from Russia.
No way.
I'm sitting there going, does Manafort have connections with Uranium One? Is that what we're talking about here?
Maybe he's got a uranium wristwatch.
I'm just like, and again, I float this stuff out there. I put this stuff out there on social media, and what do you get? You get responses that are completely out of context of what I'm saying. I put this out there. Well, isn't this strange that the Clintons are talking about taking money from Russia? And everybody's going, well, this guy, they start giving me this history of this guy. Well, he's got ties. I said, that isn't what I'm asking. I'm not talking about whether the guy's taking money from Russia or not. I'm talking about why are the Clintons talking about it?
They don't have a clue, John. We should talk just a little bit after the top of the hour stuff.
Yeah, we got to go to the top of the hour here. Time for the Edwards Notebook. We'll pay some bills. We'll be back. Stay with us right here at the Conservative Syndicate.
There is great danger when stupid people are in a position of influence. Hello, I'm
Ron Edwards. On today's page from the Edwards Notebook, recently in Twin Falls, Idaho, Muslim refugee boys from Syria chose to rape an American 5-year-old girl. Now, raping is an Islamic custom, along with adult men marrying little girls. But in America, it is a crime to rape. And when you consider the sometimes overly feminist nature of today's society, it was alarming to witness an American sovereign citizen named Nancy Taylor proclaiming that racism in Twin Falls is the cause of strife between Muslim refugees and Americans, not the senseless act of rape. I find such thinking to be very stupid and bordering on evil. Ms. Taylor is an unwise advocate for open borders and bringing in as many Muslim refugees as possible. Those boys were practicing what they had learned from their elders. The brutal, gruesome rape was videotaped, and for Ms. Taylor to be more vexed over the righteous indignation of such a horrendous act than the rape itself places on full display the danger that government school indoctrination poses to our republic. I'm Ron Edwards.
Blowing away the myths and revealing the truth. You can continue to blow away the myths with Ron Edwards on Facebook, Twitter, and theronedwards.com.
You can catch all our archives at theconservativesyndicate.net. The Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives.
Prices are for base buildings only. May not be available in some areas. Attention business owners, do you want a stimulus package that really works? Before you spend thousands of dollars more than you should on your next building project, listen to this. General Steel has a stimulus package designed to help you save as much as half the cost of conventional construction on your next building. As much as half. That's right, General Steel can save you thousands of dollars with a pre-engineered steel building designed for your business or church. How about a 50 by 100 foot building for under $30,000? So don't pay thousands more than you should without calling General Steel first and save as much as half the cost and time of conventional construction. With the projected demand for steel in Japan and China, prices may be skyrocketing.
877-927-3360. 877-927-3360. 877-927-3360. Term life insurance. It can be a powerful way to protect your assets and your family. You work hard to earn and save your money to build a nest egg for the future. Don't let it get wiped out because you didn't plan ahead. Take the time now and make a small investment in $500,000 or more in quality term life insurance. Call the Term Lifeline and let us shop the best companies to give you the lowest rates. We specialize in policies of $500,000 and above. Ask about some of our 10 and 20-year fixed rate plans with guaranteed rates. Call the Term Lifeline right now for your free insurance quote. 800-870-3609. 800-870-3609. You owe it to yourself to protect your family and your assets. Make term life insurance part of that plan. Call the Term Lifeline right now. 800-870-3609. 800-870-3609.
Hey folks, if you're like me, you don't place a whole lot of trust in today's media for the real truth and facts regarding the volatile world of finance and politics. When I want the real scoop on money, I go to the most trusted source I know, my good friend and colleague, Bob Cardoso. Bob is a noted expert with a PhD in international finance who airs his nationally known, globally syndicated show, Robert Cardoso Live Daily, Monday through Friday, 3 to 5 p.m. Pacific Time. With Bob, you get the right information at the right time from someone who knows his business and can help you make the right decisions concerning yours. Again, Bob airs daily, Monday through Friday, 3 to 5 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit his website at robertcardosolive.com for information regarding stations and topics. That's robertcardosolive.com. Check Bob out. You'll be glad you did.
Read something recently worth thinking about. It's the soldier, not the campus organizer, who's given us freedom to demonstrate. It's the soldier, not the reporter, who's given us freedom of the press. It's the soldier, not the poet, who's given us freedom of speech. It's the soldier who serves under the flag who defends the protesters' right to burn the flag. Isn't it time now to demonstrate that we support our troops? Were it not for the brave, there'd be no land of the free.
Fred Thompson's message was brought to you by citizensunited.org.
Hey, all you can do is just tell the truth and trust in the American people that over time they're going to know what the truth is.
Yes, it is time for the truth. Right here, right now. This is the Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives. With your host, John Matthews.
The latter-day prophet. Saying against the hypocrisies of our time.
And Joe Hakos.
You want answers. I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
The Conservative Syndicate is comprised of some of the most informed pundits and activists available today. Together, we seek to tear down the imaginary wall of separation between church and state through education, information, and engagement on the religion of politics and the politics of religion. And now, your host on the globally syndicated Conservative Syndicate, John Matthews and Joe Hakos.
Okay, hey, we're back, and you're listening to the Conservative Syndicate, Hour 2. Excuse the glitch there. Click the wrong button at the wrong time. We're back, and you are listening to us live coast to coast and around the world with prime time somewhere all the time. I'm your host, John Matthews, along with Joe Hakos. And hey, you know, we're talking about this. I guess the media just going into propaganda overdrive. It's just anything beyond what we've ever seen. And you know, this is something I hear from people. I was just out over the weekend, just kind of tooling around to some different places. Last week, I was at a school board delegate meeting. They were picking delegates as to who was going to be endorsed by the respective school districts. They got school board elections coming up out here. And I got a chance to talk to some, operatives, lack of a better term, Republican operatives. And it
how about just some engaged citizens?
I'm sorry?
How about just some engaged citizens?
Yeah, okay. Hey, there's a good one for you. Very engaged. Engaged, I'll go this much. I'll go this far. Engaged in terms of what is actually going on. But in terms of explaining it, very naive. Still very naive. You know, I would still put them in the operative group there. It was interesting to go down to, it was at the GOP headquarters out here in Stanton, California. And pulling up into the parking lot, huge Trump signs all over the place. I mean, almost billboard size, you know. And then their local people, the people that are running for state assembly, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it was interesting, though, to talk to each one of them, as many as I could, and to ask them, you know, what do you see happening here? See, everybody could tell me, they could recognize, you know, that there's a dysfunction, there's infighting, there's division. But when you say, okay, now how do we overcome this? What's the solution? It's pretty much crickets. You know, It's kind of like, well, we need to unify. Well, okay, duh. That's talking point 101. Okay,
well,
we need
what they're waiting on is for somebody to win or somebody to lose.
What are we going to do to keep Hillary out of the White House?
Oh, no. What I've been seeing is it's not about Hillary keeping Hillary out of the White House. They are sitting on their hands, and they're not going to do anything to help Donald Trump, which in fact is helping Hillary Clinton.
Yeah, and I will say this about the Orange County GOP, which has been one of my favorite targets. Okay, because we're not talking about a real. This place is loaded with operatives and establishment supporters. Okay, there's very few in there. There are a few. Deborah Pauley is a member of the Central Committee there. She's a real fighter. There's some real fighters, and there's fighters in the troops. You know, and these people are disgusted with what's going on, and they're disgusted with what the GOP leadership has done or what they haven't done. Yep. You know, they were echoing the same sentiments that we hear on this show and that we talk about on this show. Yeah, they let us down. They betrayed us. They've taken our money. They're not doing anything. But when you get around to, okay, now how do we fix this? It's like, well, you know, we need to come together. Oh, you know, I'm tired of hearing that.
No, we're not going to come together. Somebody has to lose. A perfect opportunity was last week when Paul Ryan was up for his primary,
right?
And he won by 8, but he won by 60 points.
Yeah. So it's like, okay, tell me how we unify. Tell me, how do we change the course of action here? Because
the same people in office is no way to do it. I can tell you that.
Yeah, and so, you know, I'm telling these people, you're sitting here in a sublet offshoot of the main GOP headquarters. This is a small outlet. You know, the GOP headquarters is down in Tustin, California. But they have their little, you know, sub offices out there, little satellite offices. And I said, you're sitting here. And you're telling, you know, you're expressing the same thing I'm expressing, but you can't tell me how we fix it. Well, the way to fix it is, obviously, the only way we can really fix it is at the polls. And so what we have to do is we have to quit this lesser of two evils mentality. Mm-hmm. And we have to start saying, you know what, we need the radicals. We need, out here in California, we need people like McClintock, and we need Tim Donnelly. We need some of these people, Deborah Pauly, that will stand up and say, you know what, enough is enough. We're not going to concede. We're not going to move. We're not going to budge an inch. You guys are going to have to change.
And see, what happens is that the party apparatus, those that have the purse strings, do everything in their power to fight against that. And that's what we're seeing on a national level.
Yeah.
And we're also seeing that in state elections on the most part. And you're seeing it from state to state. I'm surprised that you had a lot of Trump support out there, because the party here is not about Donald Trump here. Of course, this is Jeb Bush's yard, you know. So you know, these people are all about Jebby, and they're still ticked off that nobody liked Jeb.
Well, you know, Trump is supported out here by default. It's not that Republicans are just out here singing his praises. It's that they don't have anybody else to support.
Well, I understand that, and that's my point. Is you're not seeing any great support, but you aren't seeing opposition, quote unquote. But they're certainly not going to lift much hand to help.
No. I mean, we're sitting out here in our Senate election. Replacing Barbara Boxer, we've got a choice between Kamala Harris and Loretta Sanchez. Because we have an open primary out here now, we couldn't get a Republican up there.
Yeah, that's got to stop.
Yeah,
you got this open primary is just garbage, to be quite honest.
And that might be the way to start. You know, if we're going to pick something, you got to pick one thing and say, this is what we're going to go after here, and start organizing down at a grassroots level and say, hey, this has to change.
Yes.
And what we need to do out here in California is we need to come back to that. We need to say, you know what, this is no open primaries. No, we can't have this anymore. And in that way would allow us to get a Republican nominee in there somewhere and give them a chance to hear, well, you know, what's going on here, instead of listening to the difference between. And by the way, Loretta Sanchez out here, you know what she's playing right now? She's playing the race card.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, she's saying Kamala Harris is black, and people, she's got the endorsement of Barack Obama because she's black.
And she has the what kind of vote?
Huh?
And she has the what kind of vote?
Yeah. Anyways, hey, we got to go to a quick break. When we come back, I want to get back to this discussion here on the electorate and the media's influence on the electorate. Stay with us right here at the Conservative Syndicate. Don't go away.
A healthy attitude toward human politics will be relentlessly cynical. Consider us health food for the heart, mind, and soul. TheConservativeSyndicate.net. Real conservative talk from real conservatives.
When our water heater broke down last month, it was a nightmare. It took 5 hours for the plumber to show up, and he charged us a couple of $100 just to come out. Then it cost another $1,800 to put in the new water heater. By the time it was all said and done, I felt like I'd been taken. But what else could I do?
The smartest thing you can do is get a home warranty from American Residential Warranty. Their home warranties pay to repair or replace all your major appliances when they break, and they will break, and at the worst possible time. Call American Residential Warranty right now for free information on home warranties starting at just pennies a day. Don't wait for your refrigerator to stop running or your ceiling fans to stop turning. Call American Residential Warranty right now. Ask how you can save up to 50% on washer and dryer coverage. Just call 1-800-790-5960. That's 1-800-790-5960. Again, 1-800-790-5960. Call now.
Limited time offer, 24-month commitment and credit qualification require cancellation fee, auto pay, and paperless billing, and other restrictions apply. If you can't see the difference, why pay the difference? Switch to Dish for the best deal in entertainment. Only Dish brings you the best in entertainment for less than $20 a month. Cut the cable and don't get directed. Switch to Dish because at just $19.99, Dish saves you every time you turn on the TV. It's so simple. The same channels cost less with Dish. So since you can't see the difference, don't pay the difference. Switch to Dish for the best deal in entertainment. Get premium movie channels free for 3 months, starting at just $19.99. Dish saves you every time you turn on the TV. Call now to save with Dish. Dial 1-800-600-1645. That's 1-800-600-1645. The same channels for less than $20 a month. Dish. Call 1-800-600-1645 for details.
Hey folks, if you're like me, you don't place a whole lot of trust in today's media for the real truth and facts regarding the volatile world of finance and politics. When I want the real scoop on money, I go to the most trusted source I know, my good friend and colleague, Bob Cardosa. Bob is a noted expert with a PhD in international finance who airs his nationally known, globally syndicated show, Robert Cardosa Live Daily, Monday through Friday, 3 to 5 p.m. Pacific Time. With Bob, you get the right information at the right time from someone who knows his business and can help you make the right decisions concerning yours. Again, Bob airs daily, Monday through Friday, 3 to 5 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit his website at robertcardosalive.com for information regarding stations and topics. That's robertcardosalive.com. Check Bob out. You'll be glad you did.
Read something recently worth thinking about. It's the soldier, not the campus organizer, who's given us freedom to demonstrate. It's the soldier, not the reporter, who's given us freedom of the press. It's the soldier, not the poet, who's given us freedom of speech. It's the soldier who serves under the flag, who defends the protesters' right to burn the flag. Isn't it time now to demonstrate that we support our troops? Were it not for the brave, there'd be no land of the free.
Fred Thompson's message was brought to you by citizensunited.org.
Real Conservative Talk from Real Conservatives. I'm your host, John Matthews, along with Joe Hakos, and I want to get back to this. You know, we're talking about how the media has just gone overboard. They're in overdrive here. It's no longer about anything other than discouraging people from showing up from the polls. And there's a lot of reasons for that, but the number one reason is that Hillary is not going to get the turnout that Barack Obama got. And not only that, she may not get the turnout that John McCain got and lost. You know, this is going to be one of two things. This is going to be one of the highest election turnouts that we've had in a long time. If all the new registered people show up that we heard about during the primary season with Donald Trump, or it's going to be one of the lowest election turnouts. And the way it's looking at right now, the GOP establishment and the Democrat Party are banking on a low turnout. They're looking at they want the low turnout.
That's what they're trying to drive. They want to make sure that the people are just not enthusiastic about going out there to vote at all.
Yeah,
I think they should go out and vote. If anything else, they should vote out of just sheer, just absolute, just opposition to being taken for granted.
Yeah. Now, I listened to Donald Trump gave a speech this morning.
Yes, he did.
On terrorism, his plan for terrorism. And I got to tell you, I think out of everything I've heard out of this guy so far, this was probably the best articulated idea or plan that he has presented to the American public as to how he would deal with terrorism. There was, and he did all the right things all the right way. He pointed out how ISIS has come into existence, how the Obama administration with Clinton as Secretary of State created the vacuum that allowed ISIS to flourish. He talked about how and what he thought needed to be done in terms of vetting. He explained his position on the Muslim ban and everything else. And I thought, man, if you can stay on message like this,
yep,
you got a lot going for you. And I'm hoping and I'm believing that one of the dynamics that I was talking about earlier is that when he actually gets on a stage with Hillary Clinton and they compare notes and they compare strategies, Hillary's going to try to sell the idea that everything the United States has done has worked. And Donald Trump, all he has to do is just say, well, let's look at where we are now compared to where your boss came into office eight years ago.
Exactly that. Just compare it. Go, hey, how many more people are in poverty now? How many more people are on food stamps now? How many more people are on welfare now? How many people have left the job market now? I mean, over and over again. I mean, just how much GDP growth have we had in the last 8 years? Obama has not had anything above 3% GDP growth in his entire tenure as president.
Yeah, and the only thing that has accelerated any GDP growth is the Fed doctoring the interest rates.
Yeah, manipulating it, but it's still a staggering low, just above 1% or lower GDP growth.
Even the liberal financial people out there, the people at Business Insider and Wall Street Journal and places like that, will tell you this is the slowest recovery we've ever had in this country.
I wouldn't even call it a recovery.
Yeah. Well, they give it that because they still have to defend their guy.
Well, but I would call it, hey, we're just waiting for somebody to throw us a life raft.
Yeah. So anyway, I want to get into this. I was talking earlier about the dynamics that tells me pretty much right now we have no clue who's going to win this. And the main thing is the fact that the media and the establishment types. See, this is one disadvantage of establishment types is that they keep going back to their templates. They keep thinking we got to get everything to fit back into the pattern and tradition that we've established. That's the problem with establishment people. They're not willing to adapt. They want to make everything come. We got to change this and make it come back to what has been working for us. And it's not working. And even when it's not working, they don't even want to acknowledge it's not working. They just throw something out there.
Well, that's typical big government kind of BS. I mean, a problem's not working. Well, we'll have to throw more money at it.
Yeah,
we have failed schools. Let's throw more money at it. We have failed infrastructure. Let's throw more money at it. We have this has failed. We'll throw more money at it. We'll make it even larger.
Well, let's take it in terms talking about the elections process here. Let's just look at things that we've talked about on this show, things that we thought were going to happen that didn't happen, okay? We talked about the fact, first of all, Trump was just fly by night. He was going to be gone in 30 days, okay? That didn't happen. So when they realized Trump had an actual chance of winning, what we started hearing about things like contested elections.
Yes.
Brokered conventions.
Yep.
All this other stuff.
Well, for a lack of trying on their part.
Yeah, and now that didn't work. It didn't work. It didn't discourage. The voters kept turning out. The numbers kept growing. And Trump ends up just, stomping everybody's butt big time, okay?
Hey, what did he have help with? The media helped him.
Yeah. And so now what are we looking at? We're hearing rumors now that the idea is to somehow deprive both candidates of enough electoral votes, and let's put this election back into the hands of the House. Okay, that's the latest rumor out there. Let's get a third, Gary Johnson. Gary Johnson, let's say he took a small state somewhere, and in a very, very close election, the number of electoral votes he took, and you think, well, that can't happen. Well, remember, John Kennedy won by 2 electoral votes.
Yes.
Okay, so the possibility exists. Donald Trump takes New York, Hillary takes California. Some of these other swing states end up going into the Trump column, but nobody can pull into 270 because Gary Johnson upsets the numbers. Okay, and so now what happens? And that's being floated out there. It's like because the establishment can't put their finger on what they need, or they won't admit what we need to do is actually start doing what the people elected us to do.
Yes, and see that's the one thing that's different about this election cycle is you actively have Republican establishment working against their own candidate.
Yeah, because they don't want to do anything different than what they're already doing. And with Hillary in office, they can continue to do what they're already doing, and the status quo is preserved. And that is the name of the game here. It isn't even about the balance of the Senate or the House of Representatives. It isn't even about who's going to get appointed to the Supreme Court.
No, it's not.
No, it's about preserving the status quo of the establishment.
Well, it's about who gets to sit at the top of the throne instead of, it's not about anything but that. It's about, well, we want to be in charge. Well, no, we want to be in charge. It has nothing to do about who's winning. Yeah. And if they don't win, if Hillary wins, they don't see any difference, as we said before. And they're working towards that, which is that's the biggest thing. Now, the press has always been doing what they've been doing, but I'm here to tell you, let's say it was Ted Cruz out there. Ted Cruz won the nomination. The establishment would still be doing the same damn thing they're doing now to Donald Trump.
Exactly, because both of these guys upset the boat. Both of these guys rocked the boat. I even go further. If Rand Paul had somehow pulled out the nomination, they'd be doing the exact same thing they're doing right.
Because they are not on the inside. They're not part of that team. They're not part of that cabal that has the power base in Washington that has all these policies already set up by the donor class that's been infiltrated our politics and our government.
Let me explain to you the dynamics here, and then I'm going to share with you an article I found during the break here that will help really get us into this. And this, like I said, this topic will probably be going on most of the week here, so we can really kind of take what we do here in the show, take our time, wade through it, and really dig it out. Really dig out what the truth is here. I believe that the dynamics is the registration numbers, which we talked briefly about the last hour. I'm going to talk a little bit more about it as the week progresses. We have the upcoming debates. Like I said, if Donald Trump can sound the way he sounded today in a debate atmosphere, standing mano a mano with Hillary Clinton, he's got a real strong chance of winning some people back over to his side. The entire election template, which we're talking about right now, the whole way that this thing, the establishment on both sides are trying to fit this thing back into their traditional way of doing things, and they're struggling with that. And so now they're reaching out to the media to come even deeper into their little unholy alliance. And then, of course, there's the court of public opinion, which really is the only thing that really matters. And that is, the court of public opinion is very fickle. Yeah, I mean, what is popular today is not popular tomorrow, and vice versa. And what people think is happening today, they may not think it's happening tomorrow, or they may, a week from now, it could be something completely different. And the media has tried their hardest to make everything about Donald Trump's inability to articulate something in a way that most politicians would normally articulate it, rather than just speaking in common speak. Okay? Hillary Clinton sucks. That's a lot different than saying, well, there's things about Hillary Clinton that are just questionable, and my colleague in the Senate, she's served the country for a long time, but we just have differences on how we see things, that kind of stuff. Instead, no, Donald Trump gets out, hey, the woman's a crook, she's an idiot. Okay,
I called her stupid, I think, today.
Now, here's an article from Dennis Kleinfeld over at Newsmax, and I want to read this to you. in the time we got here. I can read this, and then we'll comment on it after the break here. Okay. A simple explanation why Trump will win. And he says, while watching Phelps win his 23rd gold medal, I realized that wherever he went, he was treated with great deference. So much so, the guy wasn't even banned from the Olympics after getting, busted for pot. Yeah. It was just understood that Phelps, as the dominant athlete, was the leader of the Olympic team. That's the way people act in society. People want and need strong leadership. What will count to the voters in the presidential race is who they think can be trusted with their future. This perception of the voter of who will best lead is going to be their ultimate voting reality. As the first leg of the presidential race unfolds, it seems Mrs. Clinton is swimming upstream against a swift current. Even with the entire media industry and an untold number of surrogates standing in for Mrs. Clinton, every day brings new revelations of her lying, cheating, bribery, and the faint possibility of a criminal indictment. It weighs her campaign down like lead weights. Mr. Trump is swimming through choppy waters, to be sure, but he seems to power through and get stronger and more energetic as the race goes on. He radiates an aura of power and charisma, which infuriates his detractors and delights his supporters. Much as the Mrs. Clinton supporters and the anti-Trump crowd would like to call the race over and unilaterally declare that Mrs. Clinton is a winner, the race for the presidency is just getting started. September 26th will be the first time Mrs. Clinton and Mr. Trump will compete mano a mano, if you will, pardon the expression. I'm planning on having a pizza sushi party at my house. What will happen when they are finally just one-on-one with no place to hide? Okay, now he goes on to say, Mrs. Clinton only won the Democratic Party primaries against an aged, underfunded socialist communist by literally rigging the election. If the primary was straight up, she would most likely have lost. By the way, she's still 100 delegates short of winning the nomination. It was the superdelegates that put her over the top. What is not speculation is that 21% fewer Democrats turned out to participate in the primaries this time around. That's the magic number.
Yeah.
That points to what we were saying here, that the voter turnout is going to be just more than in decades past, more important to what happens here. And that is why everything is about Trump. Everything is about Trump, because if we can get the Republicans to stay home and those non-affiliated people, Hillary can win with very low numbers. We got to go to break. When we come back, we'll continue this. Stay with us right here at the Conservative Syndicate.
Red State Talk Radio, WRS Cleveland.
Hey, I'll make you a deal. Give me 60 seconds and I'll give you directions to the Fountain of Youth. Okay, I'm joking. Well, kind of joking. No fountains, but youth, I got. Nature's Youth and their premier anti-aging product, Nature's Youth RSF. With your sensible diet and exercise plan, Nature's Youth RSF can help you look and feel better. RSF is an all-natural amino acid supplement that supports your body to naturally increase HGH levels without any synthetic hormones. And elevated HGH levels can contribute to increased energy, improved libido, reduced body fat, and improved exercise capacity. Let's be honest. Who doesn't want to look and feel younger? Visit the newly designed website at naturesyouth.com or call 800-333-6923. That's 800-333-6923 and like them on Facebook and you'll be included in contests and exclusive offers. What a deal. Oh, speaking of deals, my time's about up. 800-333-6923 or naturesyouth.com. Who needs a fountain anyway? Call today.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
When I had a heart attack at 42, I was not sure what the future held. But a year later, the doctors could find nothing wrong with me and took me off all my medication. What did I do? I took a herbal mixture of garlic, cayenne, and a few other herbs mixed in liquid form. I now call this Extendovite. I would have never believed that a few simple herbs could actually change my life like they did. Now it's your turn to see what the powers of garlic and cayenne can do for you. For only $69.95 plus shipping and handling for a 2-month supply of either capsules or liquid, you too can begin on your path to better health. For more information, call 1-877-928-8822. That's 1-877-928-8822. Or visit our website at heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
I've owned my company for 14 years now, and I can tell you that payroll is a 4-letter word. I hate doing it. It eats up hours I don't have, and it costs me money I could be saving. But my accountant's too expensive, and I'm not sure who to call, but I know I need help.
We're Paychex, and we take all the hassles out of small business payroll. We save you time and money. It's easy. Call, fax, or give us your payroll information securely online, and we take care of the rest. We calculate the correct taxes, manage payments and direct deposits. We even send out your checks. Payroll doesn't need to be a 4-letter word anymore. We're so sure that we can save you time and money that we'll give you a month's payroll free. Just for calling 877-663-3830. Get 1 month's payroll for free. Call Paychex right now. 877-663-3830. That's 877-663-3830.
Hey, I don't back anybody unless I believe in them. And I do believe in the value of investing in gold and silver. And the company I trust to buy my gold and silver from is Swiss America. I've been working with them for nearly a decade. I trust them, and you can too. Swiss America will help you sort through and find the best options available when you're considering investing in gold and silver coins. Listen, for over 30 years, Swiss America has been offering Americans what they want in their investments: safety, liquidity, quality, reliability, and a potential profit. Gold and silver have a place in every investor's portfolio. So, why not let Swiss America help you diversify your investment portfolio now? Call now for free information. 800-978-3907, 800-978-3907, 800-978-3907, 800-978-3907.
Hey, Bugsy, you hear the news about Vinny?
Yeah, it's a real shame he owed money to the IRS and they finally cut up with him.
Just like Al Capone.
If the IRS can get the Capone, imagine what they can do to little old Vinny, huh?
Poor cat, he was on top of the world, then bada boom, bada bing.
What Vinny needs now is an offer he can't refuse.
Hey, you got a tax problem? Does the IRS claim you owe them a bunch of dough? They can get you too. So call the tax relief line now and learn if you qualify to negotiate your $10,000 plus IRS tax debt for up to a 75% savings. Don't be like Al or Vinny and get busted. Make this free call now. Learn how you may be able to pay the IRS less.
Call now. 866-657-8474. 866-657-8474. 866-657-8474. 866-657-8474.
And we're back, and you're listening to the Conservative Syndicate, Real Conservative Talk from Real Conservatives. I'm your host, John Matthews, along with Joe Hakos, and we're reading an article here. This is out of Newsmax,
yeah.
And written by Dennis Kleinfeld, and he has given a simple explanation as to why Trump will win. And we're about midway through the article here. Joe's going to pick it up where I left off at. Go ahead, Joe.
All right, so just to reiterate the last thing, Mrs. Clinton only won the Democratic Party primaries against an aged, underfunded socialist communist by literally rigging the election. If the primaries were straight up, she most likely would have lost. What is not speculation is that 21% fewer Democrats turn out to participate in the primaries this time around. Trump dominated Republican primaries, where the major media was unmistakably biased against him, as were the ruling Republican political establishment figures. In the Republican primary, 62% more voters turned out than any previous primary contest. Trump himself got the largest number of primary votes ever in the history of the Republican Party. And what about the issues and past accomplishments? The political issues of the 1960s are so ingrained in Mrs. Clinton, are in sharp contrast to the new voters' desire for financial security, opportunity, and having a strong military and police for protection from the dangers of radical Islamic terrorists, a phrase that Hillary Clinton cannot even say.
Right.
A highly politically correct generation is being horrified by the proliferation of the Black Lives Matter generated riots. The promise of getting union-controlled factory jobs is not overly enticing. Mrs. Clinton's campaign is doing its best to run away from her actual record as Senator, Secretary of State, and head of the Clinton Foundation. She has made her life's work to sell influence and government favors at the expense of the taxpayers. They certainly want to avoid reminding potential voters that Mrs. Clinton's lies, cheats, and invariably has disastrous judgment. Mr. Trump's life is an open book. It has all been played out publicly for his entire career. He is running on his actual record of performance. In a highly competitive global world, his name goes on everything he does. People eagerly pay extra to buy a Trump condo or to stay in a Trump hotel. He grew up in the building trades and understands that a construction business is only as successful as the talent of its people. Mr. Trump speaks in a language of the working people, not the Washington, D.C. or the elitist or William doublespeak. Working people relate to what Mr. Trump is saying not much differently than they would if Joe the plumber was a billionaire and running for high office. On September 26th, Mrs. Clinton and Mr. Trump will be one-on-one with no place to hide. What really matters in this debate and most decisions in life is optics, not policy. People do not systematically process information, and decisions are made emotionally. In the animal kingdom, the pack is always instinctively chooses its alpha dog to lead. Mrs. Clinton's sure voice is not pleasant to which to listen. She comes across as a mix between a mid-level policy wonk and a snake oil salesperson. Bernie Sanders appeared to be genuine and thereby dominated the primary debate almost at will. Outside the debates, Mrs. Clinton let surrogates act in her place, just as she's doing now.
Right.
Unless she has a complete makeover, she will appear on stage against Mr. Trump as a tired old 5'2" stiff facade of an over-rehearsed politician promoting special interest agendas. Mr. Trump is a 6'4" vigorous male whose voice and tone are most engaging when speaking carefully. When he walks onto a stage, it's as if he owns the whole studio. He dominated every primary debate against all other well-funded and experienced Republican contenders, and he controls the news today. His campaign, like everything else he has done in his life, is all Trump. Why do I think Mr. Trump will win the debates and ultimately the presidential election? My explanation is simple. In this election cycle, Mr. Trump is the alpha dog of the pack. So says Dennis Kleinfeld, known as a strategic tax and wealth protection lawyer, widely published author, and creative teacher.
And I don't think we could have put that in any better words. It explains exactly what we're talking about here. When you start breaking it down, the fact that the number one thing here, as I said at the very beginning of the show, when the media tells you something is, it isn't. Yeah. And when it tells you something isn't, it is.
Yep.
And so when we're sitting here talking about how, the latest polls show Hillary Clinton, I mean, she's winning by 20 points, but she's still only carrying 45, 46% at the most in some of the polls.
Yeah.
Okay. Which means that Trump is being relegated somewhere down in the 25% bracket, and that's not true. Okay, that just isn't true. But the polls are being manufactured that way. Now, we've talked about how some of these polls have eliminated the options as to what you can choose from. It's not. Some of them are saying there's no longer an undecided. You have to make a choice.
Yeah,
okay?
That's what Reuters did.
Yeah, okay. But the big thing about all this is this. When we talk about how campaigns have been run forever, especially in the last 5 decades. Okay, you've got your ground parties out there. You've got pre-planners. They're able to go out and they build their database. They get their supporters. They got emails coming in. They got donations coming in. So all these people are kind of counted. Okay, this is our base.
Especially since the 1960 election of John F. Kennedy.
Yeah, which, by the way, everybody will tell you the reason John Kennedy won that election, as Dennis points out here, was the optics.
Yes.
John Kennedy
exactly that.
Yeah, John Kennedy looked assured. He was confident. Richard Nixon had been suffering from the flu. Looked like he hadn't shaved in a couple days. He did
that. And in fact, he busted up his knee a couple times prior to that, so he was hurting. But if you ask people that saw the debate between Nixon and Kennedy, they say Kennedy won. But if you ask people who heard the debate, they said Nixon won.
Yeah, because Nixon was more of a policy wonk, okay? Yeah. But you're not going to hear Hillary Clinton on radio. You're just going to see her on TV, okay? And that just the, as they use, I like this word. It's a new word they use a lot, the optics. It's what is being projected out there, okay? And it fits the template that, in elections past, this is how we've done it. And when we talk about going out and doing polls, we know that a couple of things in the polls have changed. Like I said, some of the options have changed. The other thing has changed is the number of people that are actually polling. You used to see polls with 1,000, 1,500, 3,000 people. Now we're down to like 450, 500 in the average poll now. And now you're pulling randomly from what? From a database that you've been using probably for the last 6 election cycles. Nobody's polling the new people. Nobody's asking the Trump supporters, really, why you're voting for Trump. None of that's happening. And those are dynamics that have to play into this thing. We got to go to break. When we come back, we'll continue. Stay with us right here at the Conservative Syndicate. Don't go away.
A healthy attitude toward human politics will be relentlessly cynical. Consider us health food for the heart, mind, and soul. TheConservativeSyndicate.net. Real conservative talk from real conservatives.
Hey folks, if you're like me, you don't place a whole lot of trust in today's media for the real truth and facts regarding the volatile world of finance and politics. When I want the real scoop on money, I go to the most trusted source I know, my good friend and colleague, Bob Cardoso. Bob is a noted expert with a PhD in international finance who airs his nationally known, globally syndicated show, Robert Cardoso Live Daily, Monday through Friday, 3 to 5 p.m. Pacific Time. With Bob, you get the right information at the right time from someone who knows his business and can help you make the right decisions concerning yours. Again, Bob airs daily, Monday through Friday, 3 to 5 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit his website at robertcardosolive.com for information regarding stations and topics. That's robertcardosolive.com. Check Bob out. You'll be glad you did.
Read something recently worth thinking about. It's the soldier, not the campus organizer, who's given us freedom to demonstrate. It's the soldier, not the reporter, who's given us freedom of the press. It's the soldier, not the poet, who's given us freedom of speech. It's the soldier who serves under the flag, who defends the protesters' right to burn the flag. Isn't it time now to demonstrate that we support our troops? Were it not for the brave, there'd be no land of the free.
Fred Thompson's message was brought to you by citizensunited.org.
Back, and you're listening to the Conservative Syndicate, conservative talk from real conservatives, and we're glad to have you with us. I'm your host, John Matthews, along with Joe Hakos, and just a little bit more reiteration here as to what we're talking about in terms of the polls, because that really is one of the major issues that we're talking about here in terms of the media going into propaganda overdrive, and that is they're going to, actually, just the number of polls I've been hearing about in the last 2 weeks, last week especially, it's like every day, every single day, there was another poll. And Hillary just keeps climbing. Her numbers just keep climbing, and yet 68% of the country still thinks she's a crook. You know, that's always been the nth degree thing with me. It's like I'm sitting here going, how can you tell me that
Doesn't make sense.
68% of the country thinks this woman is a crook, thinks she's a liar, thinks she hid stuff on her emails, sold secrets, pay for play, the whole 9 yards, and still tell me that she's winning.
Yeah.
I mean, if we really are that stupid, we deserve it. We deserve Hillary Clinton. But I really don't think it's gone that far. I mean, otherwise there wouldn't be such an uproar across the country. We wouldn't have Black Lives Matter and stuff like that. We wouldn't have people flocking to register for the first time if that was really the case, that the American people were really that stupid. So anyway, Joe, you had something you wanted to add to what we were talking about here.
Yeah, it's, we're talking about the polls. And, like I was saying before, these polls are so important to these news organizations. I mean, if they didn't have these polls, I jokingly said they'd have to talk about facts, but that is the truth, because every time you hear anything, it's this poll is this and this is the numbers and blah, blah, blah. It's so important that people are starting to not believe what these polls are saying, that Fox actually did a whole segment with Brett Baer, and they were describing how they came upon their polls and how they were doing their poll and how they were gathering their polling data and how it was this and it was that, and it was so scientific this and you just have to believe us now, because we've explained to you exactly how these polls, how we get our polls to work so much better than everybody else. And it was just like, really, you have to come out there and you have to sell the process you use to get your polling data. That's how important they think it is, that they actually had to spend an entire segment on their programming to make sure that they got that point across to people, because they understand that the feedback they're getting is not healthy when it comes to these polls. And people are starting to really not buy it anymore. Like you said, John, it doesn't pass the smell test.
No.
When she gets 40-some%, not even 50% of the people, and winning by these great numbers, there's no way. It's not happening.
No, and let's understand what polls do. I mean, outside of exerting some type of influence as to the trend or the direction that something's going, but this is the media's way of determining what they're going to say without having to do any in-depth research.
Absolutely. Okay, absolutely. And they are just a snapshot in quote-unquote time.
Okay, we hear a question out there. Do you think Donald Trump's ban on Muslims is ethical and American? Okay, that just the wording of the question.
Yeah.
All right, it's not. And so what that means is
they're a bad idea. It's not something that simple. Is it a good idea, a bad idea? It's negative. It's brought in a negative light. No matter how you answer the question, it's going to go bad on Donald Trump.
Yeah. Instead of actually going out and maybe taking what he's saying in context, coming back and explaining to the American public what he meant by it was, as he explained today in his speech, we need a vetting process. We need an extreme vetting process to determine who's coming into this country. Why? Because we have Hillary Clinton wants, one of his better jokes, the Anne Merkel of the United States. She wants to just let all these people in, and look what's happened over in Germany. The people are pissed off. The crime rates have climbed.
It's worse than pissed off. These people are afraid.
Yeah. And why is it? Because the crime rates have climbed. And so he's saying, all I'm saying is we need to, one, determine who they are, and two, they have to pass some kind of test to determine what their motives are. Why are they coming here? And he went out of his way to say, if they're productive, if they're coming into the country to do something and we can determine that, hey, open arms. But if they're just coming in here, to blow the country up, we need to stop it.
Or to be just a voting block for the Democratic Party.
Yeah. So what? So how does the poll ask a question? Do you think Trump is a bigot because he dissed the Khan family on the DNC convention?
Yeah.
Exactly. And no substance. And so what the media then does is use these weak questions to establish their narrative. Well, the American people think this, and so therefore I'm licensed now to say whatever I want to say. And you have given me credibility. You, the American people, have given me credibility to go down the path that I wanted to go down in the first place. And that's why I asked the question in the way I did, so that I can now advance the narrative that what we have running for the President of the United States is a dumb, inarticulate, money-grubbing, greedy, insane, unstable person.
Yeah, and I think I'm no lawyer, but I think I watched an episode of Perry Mason where they would call those leading questions.
Yeah, in fact, I even had an article. I've got to find it. I had it out there. One of the articles I wanted to talk about today was the fact that the media, and this is what I was talking about earlier when I was saying the media is trying to now use examination of themselves to try to detract from the fact that they're actually out there practicing propaganda. And it was Hugh Hewitt's interview with Donald Trump. And Hugh Hewitt kind of suggested to Donald Trump, did you really mean what you said about Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama being the founders of ISIS? Isn't this really what you were inferring? And Donald Trump said, no, what I said is what I meant.
Yeah, and that was the media's attempt to go, well, they tried to give Donald the out, but he wouldn't take it.
But they used the example, and this is funny. A journalist professor, for lack of a better phrase, out of a Maryland university saying, oh, Donald Trump was leading the witness. Journalists don't lead the witness. We present the facts. And I'm going like, what country are you from?
Hey, Mr. Stiltskin, welcome to the 21st century.
I said, there isn't a journalist major in the country, in any major university, that's teaching how to be objective and reporting the facts. Because you won't get a job anywhere if that's what you do. The only way you're going to get hired, these talking heads. I remember a couple years ago when the Islamic radical thing first came up, and that term started being floating out there. Uh-huh. And Katie Couric is interviewing this guy that represents Islam, and she says, well, not knowing anything about Islam. That's how she started the question. Huh. And she asked the guy the question, and then she turns right into the narrative. Yep. Right into the narrative. Not knowing anything about Islam, but I've got a narrative here that I'm going to advance, and that is that there's racist views out there in white America.
But and she did the same thing with that little documentary she made too, though, where they did this. The 15 seconds of silence made people look stupid, like they didn't have a clue as to how to answer her questions. So she knows what she's doing there too, as well. So these people are all the same, and they always set up their agenda. It's as Mr. Cadell said, it is a crisis. But I call it he called it an institutional crisis. I call it a constitutional crisis.
Yeah. So Trump is out there just speaking plain speak. We have to vet people, and the phrase he used today, extreme vetting. We have to make sure we know who these people are, and if we can't vet them, we don't let them in. I mean, that makes perfect sense. Well, on the Hillary side, what is she talking about? Enlisting the dreamers. The illegal, undocumented people, enlisting their help in getting people to vote.
Yes, and campaigning for her.
Yeah, and campaigning for her. Boy, two sides. It's not even two sides of the same coin, and we're not even talking about the same currency, for crying out loud.
We're not talking about the same thing. I mean, what's next? Just open up the prison doors?
Yeah.
To every prison in the states, you could go out and walk in the fresh air and help Hillary Clinton get elected.
Yeah. We can't give you a ballot legally. Maybe these are the guys that are being sent out to the dumpsters out there to pull absentee ballots out of the university trash bins or something. I don't know.
Sure, they would be willing to do it, John, just to get some free time outside the prison walls.
Yeah. So anyway, guys, we're coming up at the end of the show here, and we're going to continue this, like I said, most of the week, if not all of it, because I think this is the issue right now. This is the narrative. This is the agenda. This is the strategy from here on out, unless it doesn't work. Unless they get caught with their pants down to such a degree that they have to shift gears, it's going to be all about, hey, this thing is already won because Trump's an idiot.
Yeah,
Okay?
at least until the first debate, anyway.
Yeah, and it's not going to be about Hillary Clinton being a crook or corrupt or evil or anything else. It's Trump's an idiot. We'd rather have a pathological liar in office than somebody who maybe just doesn't know how to talk political speak. So we'll be back tomorrow, and in the meantime, visit our website, theconservativesyndicate.net. We thank you so much for your loyalty. Sometimes I know we probably drive you up the wall, but that's a whole purpose. That's the idea. We want to get your attention, and we want to make you think. So we'll be back tomorrow, 3 o'clock out here on the West Coast, 6 o'clock on the East Coast. God bless you all. We love you. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Thanks for tuning in to this edition of the Conservative Syndicate, the nationally acclaimed, globally syndicated, politically incorrect talk show that seeks to tear down the imaginary wall of separation between church and state. We want to make you aware you can find and access all our show archives at our website, theconservativesyndicate.net, as well as our broadcast stations and times. That's theconservativesyndicate.net. We so appreciate you taking the time to tune in, and we so look forward to continuing to bring you the best in uncompromised talk radio available on the net today. And remember, folks, it doesn't matter how many times you get knocked down in life. It only matters how many times you get up. I'm John Matthews, along with Joe Hako, signing off until next time right here at the Conservative Syndicate. God bless you, and may God continue to bless America.